boy show up 30 minutes before the class, eh?
I know it was 2 hours before class. After class then.
Yes, he said he put in her presents. I guess he was saying he put in her presents.
Trying to get 5%. This chapter 5, I never marked, like not as much going on, but it's still so
Heavy involved and big,
Yes.
yeah.
this is all the chapter that's just like where's the stuff? I feel like there's no information in this. I think there's no information. That's why they're not like you guys like I don't know.
Oh my God. You didn't get much of the internal controls.
Except what it is really on 2 types of things, 2 types of control frameworks. Or this console framework, I think, possibly.
The definition on page 146 for sure. The cybernetic model. The different elements of the control system, sensor, input system, that kind of thing. Effector, control action taken to change the system behavior. And On 148, we talked about the flow of information, feedback control, feed forward control.
This is also the system itself.
Say again?
No, I was saying it's talking about the system itself.
The system itself. And there must be a predictable model to the process. So everyone should be able to understand how it's supposed to flow and the systems that are in place to make it flow. And the results of it being the outcome. The hardcore outcome is sales of products and services, increased production per employee, and defects per unit of time or labor. These are the things that they say is, if you want to say what are measurable as a result of us putting this thing in place. These are the ones that are measurable, and the soft ones would be those that are not measurable, but not easily measurable.
So you take the control and control something.
Yeah, these outcomes is the byproduct of having this control mechanism in place. If you have it in place and it's working well, you should be able to measure the sales of products or services, the production per employee, the defects per unit, absenteeism. These are the things that put a quantifiable number to it. And so what they're saying is, any controls you put in place, you should have a combination of the two. It shouldn't just be one as opposed to the other. So if all of your controls have soft skills or soft outcomes, it's hard to manage when there is no measurable item in place. So they're saying that we need you to be in a position where you have both. I knew you'd jump on that. Staff motivation, customer satisfaction, response to advertising, impact of negative occurrences on reputation of the organization, all those kinds of things. But Scotiabank has a fairly stable reputational capital in the marketplace.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I think we have the highest out, to be honest with you. But, I mean, we have our pros and cons as any business, right? Thankfully, our pros are the cons.
Yeah.
The customers still giving us hard times because our policies, which we can't control.
Yeah.
Coming from Canada, they're authorized for central bank, so we can't do anything about it at all, period.
Yeah.
The national government tell us, nothing changing.
Oh my goodness. But it's surprising that First Caribbean or CIBC, whichever they call it, they almost as if they have a lot of branches, but they're very quiet.
They are, because they rely solely upon their, I guess, 5-star branches. First Caribbean is there.
They're just there.
They emerged multiple 3 times since
And then they change the name, they bring back the name. What was Barclays, what was Finco, what was CIBC. So you have these issues going back and forth.
They merging too much.
And they give you the approach that we can wait to see what y'all come up with.
Right. Because customers coming from their branch to our branch, and then, First Caribbean still there, so you sit down, wait for your number to get called, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, okay. So, which one is true? You want to make a mistake? No, I got it.
No. To me, if I got to pick a number in the bank, I get the feeling like Kentucky or chicken.
You understand?
Which is not what I expect in financial services.
Exactly, that's not professional.
Yeah.
I don't think it's professional, just making you lazy.
So, that's a challenge in and of itself. We also have, for instance, Commonwealth has a brand, but their brand is the poor man's bank. And so they lend you money for
They'll lend money to a cat.
TV and clothes and furniture.
That's because they answer to no one.
Yeah. So
they ain't gotta go in Canada or Toronto or nothing.
Yeah, right. And so that gives you the impression that It's almost like,
their delinquency and loans are the highest in the world, actually.
yeah, because the people they lend the money to, their ability to repay.
I think they're like 504% over there.
What? Wow.
We got like 96% of our that's here.
500. Wow.
Anything else they got? Delinquencies.
But I guess they figure they can make enough off the people who do pay, because the interest
So
rates are.
18%.
Yeah.
I found that the mortgage was 18% of the way. You can pay much for 20 times.
20 times over. Yeah. And so for them to be able to get away with that, they have to be in a position where they have a lot of people coming through. So
they
they
do because when customers leave us, we decline them. Oh, you got to come and buy. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you're gonna get it, but you're gonna pay mine.
but they don't care. They want the money now. They want the
That's why
money
half the
today.
time is I'm going back to try to do it. Call it off. Consolidation.
Yeah. After they've been over there.
I'm gonna go over there and test the waters and get chip all the way.
Exactly.
When I come out to Scotia. Our new mortgages are 7%. The switches are was at 5.25%.
If you switch from one company, one bank to the next.
Pure mortgage, right? Scotia Bank.
Our insurance company.
That's what it is.
8
Oh, you come to Scotia?
8 or 10. 8 or 10, one of them.
You come to Scotia.
Yeah. I get tankers running me down all
Wow,
the time.
that's... Okay, I can stay there.
So Scotia is always 7 then.
Yeah, whatever. 5 to 7.
He called me just today, as a matter of fact, because they wanted to sell me. I don't have a credit card, but I intentionally don't want a credit card because I match my funds appropriately that I don't need a credit card. So he called me on the conversation of the platinum credit card and then ended up with the mortgage conversation. And I'm like, yeah, let me think about it. Because, I mean, my salary goes to Scotia. So they are familiar and they see and they understand.
So I didn't want to do what I said. That's talk for another day.
Yeah, so talking is being a little. You know, but
Yeah, you know those
I like to manage my own money. I don't want to bank managing it for me. And I don't, when I had a credit card, I would never charge more than I could pay within the interest period. So they didn't make no money off of me, you know, but they won't convince me I need this credit card to pay for my trip and travel. I don't know.
Let's put some credit cards.
Yeah. But I have a very good discipline. I plan well in advance. And I usually go with debit cards I use.
That's probably everywhere.
Yeah, so I don't have a problem with it. If I don't have the money on it, I don't expect to spend it.
So they go Canada.
They pay it in the day. You need to book again? You need to book them again? Well, we got an exam in less than 2 weeks
We're
now.
on the video shooting.
I thought we had tests to do.
You come prepare for a test then. You come prepare for a test then.
That's
Speak to us.
that's the Thanksgiving. So they want to feel the test.
Let's see if he's serious with that first.
Speak on this.
Okay. Let me tell you according to my schedule where we are.
Next message, rough.
Let me pull up my calendar and I can tell you. According to my calculation,
They got 100%.
we should finish 5 today, 6 on Saturday, which is 21st.
The test on Wednesday.
No, we have. Now, someone said it was. She told me. Sherelle was saying she have an exam on the 25th. I mean, on the 28th. She have it on the Wednesday. So she's having an exam on the 25th. She said the 28th, but she said Wednesday. But the 25th is.
No, I was saying, I have an exam on the 28th for Spanish.
Well, that's what I wanted to get clear. Because really, really we need to do 7 and 8 for sure. So I could we could finish the entire book by the 25th. We could skip the Saturday being the 28th and then have the exam the following Wednesday, which would be the 2nd.
Okay. That sounds
That sounds excellent. Okay. So you'll have all of that time to prepare in the middle there. And that's the best I can do.
That's excellent. I admire your best.
Okay, so the exam is really scheduled for the 2nd of July,
Easy.
before the holidays. Okay.
What happened to Gretchen?
Gretchen, she from work, man. She was doing so good. Let's say you feeling tight there.
So,
Baby, where you out there? Go ahead.
I don't know if it's personal information, but about the grades, I went into the album for the year.
Plenty. Go check. Go. I mean, if you push, you would definitely get more than if you don't push.
Speaking generally.
So speaking, no, I mean anybody.
Because I know
If
you
you're
said-
trying for 30, you should really push for 60. Because you might fall on 30. If you try for 30, you might fall on 15 or 20. You should have now, like I said, I think for the most part, no one has gotten less than 4% for class participation. Okay, so generally. So if you add the 4% with the cost for the case study plus the exam, the midterm exam, that should give you your total. Where you at now. The final exam is
You can afford to do this.
I know, no. See, you almost said, oh Lord, I mean, I gotta pray over you.
No, I'm just saying. Suppose you get
Why don't talk positive instead of negative so you could depress? No. So that means you would get 60% on the final exam and you could pass this back. So if you are now around 30, 40%, 35%, 30 to 40%, you know definitely you need to score at least 50% of the final exam for you to get 30, which would put you over 65% to pass. But there ain't nobody in this class should be trying to get 65%.
Should get at least 80 to 100.
I would say 80 to 100 should be in.
What is it? You start from?
You could get that. You could get that.
Certificate like nice.
You could get that if you read the book.
When I read the book.
So if you don't have the book, then you should borrow a book. Because it can't fly this next couple of months, this next couple of go around. And you look at what we did on the midterm exam, those areas covered would be the same areas. It might be worded that way, but it's the same areas. Okay. The cases are straightforward cases, and they only could be based on ethics, corporate responsibility, social responsibility, or conflict of interest, compliance. That's everything we've done is about that. And so it is more or less how you examine the facts and how you place an argument against the facts that you examine. That's going to make a difference. So what can I say? I kind of said all I can, short of saying it was on the exam itself. The case study on page 150, Barings Bank. talking about road traders again. The bank was the oldest merchant bank in the world, having been founded in 1762. It collapsed in 1995 due to problems in the Singapore derivatives market caused by unauthorized dealing. So that's your UBS and your JP Morgan all over again. The Singapore office was run by Nick Leeson for the 3 years up to the crisis. So he only had 3 years at it. He was the head of the settlement operation and was floor manager. Leeson's formal reporting line was to himself. That's the problem. Out of the box.
How do you report to yourself though?
That's one of the reasons why we don't have the CEO reporting to the chairman. I mean, the CEO and the chairman can't be the same person. But keep in mind now, this back in the 1990s. So this was before all the compliance and everything else was in place. Leeson made small gamble in the futures market. He can cover his losses by using a corporate account. Thereby preventing the London office from receiving standard daily reports. So whatever was happening, the London office was the overall situation. He was in Singapore doing his own little creative accounting in the background. And so he used these funds lodged with the bank by its subsidiaries and falsified records and put it to the bank's computer system. The losses were covered up for over 2 years, and they were made more severe by the adverse effects of financial markets after the earthquake in Japan. When uncovered by the auditors, the losses had reached $830 million. Pounds, sorry. The company collapsed in 1995. He was convicted under Singapore law and served a custodial sentence in the cities of Shanghai for prison. His story is recounted in the film Rogue Trader. No, don't watch it. It's not very good. But Barings Bank was sold for $1. What? Don't watch it? Yeah. Barings Bank was sold for, a whole bank was sold for £1 to the Dutch ING Group, who in turn sold on the company in 2005. So, a whole bank, which is the oldest merchant bank, had a Singapore subsidiary, and the fellow was in Singapore doing his own do, reporting to himself and whatever have you. But they probably thought once he logged the information appropriately, they'd be able to see it in London online, which he wasn't putting into these accounts that he already knew. They need to blame themselves as well. Yeah. So the whole bank collapsed and was actually sold later on for £1. A bank. So I venture to wonder how much money UBS out, because they've been hit at least 4 or 5 times in the last decade. Well, let me, I don't like to deal with anyone's reputation carefully, but the number houses, they get robbed from time to time.
I'm gonna get raided from that.
They get raided from time to time, but they still open.
The workers.
The workers is taking money. Awesome. Boy, listen.
Lady took $400,000. It's before they have
The ATM thing.
Before there was advance, they used to keep the cash in the look. The ladies had the cash.
But not only that. Right now, waiting the money going, can't go in the banks. So the money in some safe back and stash somewhere and whatever. Oh, I do want to bid you together.
So I know for sure Island Luck, they have an account probably someplace because they have that the ICS truck coming to them with the wallets.
Yeah, but ICS truck could come to you for whatever reason.
Well, I mean,
But I mean, money.
Or
they could go up.
they could carry it.
Put an activation in.
You only need to raise a girl safe.
I guess.
And then too, I think Island Luck is doing some legitimate business these days.
They have a construction company.
Yeah,
They
well,
build condos
so
and all that.
they
That's why
purchase
they're
it.
giving away homes and
So they purchasing stuff and billing stuff and paying pay salary because
Claiming the money.
So if I'm a tile layer, for instance, and I charge you 5,000 to lay this tile, you give me 5,000 cash and I go to my bank.
Yeah. Claiming the money. After the possible
Let's see once the government made that legal, that's it.
Well, some of the banks say they still will not take.
I know we have to follow the law wherever we do business. So
Yeah,
if the
yeah.
law say don't accept it, then you gotta accept it.
But I think there's an international implication that will be taken into
Of
consideration.
course.
How that pans out, I don't know. Fine? You got your pen back.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, I don't know. You have to have controls in place. You have to have internal controls. You have to have the person who's receiving is not the one checking, and the one who's checking is not does not have a conflict of interest with the one receiving. Okay. On 151, it talks about failure to develop and implement an effective control system can have serious effects on any business. And some of those effects are listed there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, financial control can provide a misleading picture of the business. We had the situation with Enron. They were cooking the books. Ineffective product and service quality controls will result in customer complaints and ultimately increase attrition rates as dissatisfied customers leave or move from their account, move from their bank, or I say bank, but from any organization. And then also too, ineffective human resources controls may result in the inability to detect inappropriate behavior. We had one situation when we did a study where there was one hotel at the time. They did a study on how many times people call in sick, how many times people just don't show up to work without calling in sick. And they did, okay, for instance, if Nathan didn't come to work, Clayton didn't come to work that whole day, what was their salary for that day? And they found out that they were losing $20,000 a month on sick days and absenteeism per month.
20,000.
20,000 per day.
That's a day.
20,000, no, 20,000 per month. Sorry, 20,000 per month. Sorry. Because if you're not to work,
Paying for a certain
I think I pay you
done,
salary,
right?
Yeah.
and so I'm not getting it back.
We're working that done. So
Your work, no work is getting done, but that cost is going off to you because they had this policy that you could be off from work 2 days without coming a doctor's certificate.
But how much social are you losing?
So you take your 2 days, and then other people bring in a doctor's certificate. The next guy will bring in another. So between sick days and just being absent from work, it was $20,000 a month.
When did that survey at Scotiabank?
And you start with a small organization. So that was Sheraton actually. The one down on Cable Beach, Sheraton Cable Beach. Yeah. They paid you 3 seconds. So they did a study where they added it all up. They went to the HR and see how many slips they had. And these people, their wages, the salaries for those persons who were off sick and how long they were off for. And they calculated it. And it was averaging $20,000 a month. No organization could afford that. No. Someone told me today they went to NIB and they had 5 persons around one desk and serving one person at a time. That's without controls in place. That's a waste of money. Because each one of those persons is a salary, still getting paid. And if the person stop and answer their cell phone and go on to a private conversation, that's money again being wasted. So without controls in place, and that's why sometimes they say you can't bring your cell phone out to work. Or you can't do this or you can't do that. Well, because they try to tighten up on all the expenses
Yeah,
that's
they
going
had
through.
one commercial bank where they made it against. They put a
Against
policy
the
where
company policy.
everyone was paying Candy Crush. day. I forget what
I
bank.
heard about that.
Like the whole staff was playing Candy Crush all day. One of the days doing it so much that they ban it. Like, if you get catch playing Candy Crush, you get fined.
I heard about that girl.
Wow.
I can't recall
No,
which bank it
States.
was. No, it's bank over here too.
Over here?
It's over
Well, they
here.
ain't still good. They're not that serious.
They can't cash on their computers on their phone.
Their phones.
But they're allowed to bring phones to work.
Yeah, but Candy Crush.
Yeah.
Because even us, by us, they started to do that a lot, all the staff.
So many staff members you have at the office?
It's about 25.
For 25. So 15 of them doing that, you wasting plenty money. The company's wasting plenty money. Yeah.
The babies up.
Yeah, and if you think about a hotel where there's 1,000 employees, if 400 doing it, they're wasting plenty money.
What I don't like though is, say for example, you went out for, I think NIB don't pay for sick days if it was in more than 2 days.
Let me help you understand what NIB is supposed to
I didn't
be.
even know what NIB
And then
really
it's supposed to be
was.
like a backup just in case.
NIB is a social instrument, and it really should be paying for those who cannot afford to
Right.
be covered anywhere else. So
Basically,
the working
your money
class,
going
the
for persons
working
who ain't
class
working.
is really paying for those who cannot.
Who ain't working?
But everyone
Yeah.
feel
And
like
I be just come up again.
But what's the
Last one.
because that's a way for we don't pay your taxes. So how is your government expected to have hospital and education and roads if there is no vehicle to pay XYZ?
So all your friends
So
who got it
the
7, 8,
intention of NIB, of National Insurance Act, under the benefits under the act, is that there's a death benefit, there's a sickness benefit, there's an invalidity benefit, there's incapacity benefit. All this is getting paid out of the
Employees
monies that the
benefit too.
working class pay. So really, if your company does not cut your pay, you shouldn't get paid by NIB.
Yeah, but so
I mean, if they
if
don't
I'm out
pay-
of work,
If
They don't pay
you're
NIB.
working and they give you a full salary,
They don't pay NIV, basically.
you were sick home, but they still paid you. You should not get a claim from NIB
Right.
but
because
when
you haven't
do
lost
When
anything.
do you get your NIB paid?
After
When you
the
retire.
days
So I
the
mean, like,
bank-
So
for
suppose you
example-
won't work in, suppose you get fired and something.
But
That's when it kicks in, eh?
but they used to have the unemployment thing, which they stopped.
They stop that?
Yeah,
Find a
remember that
job.
long line with the be out in front there. But the thing about it is, if there's 7 benefits under the NIB, and if you qualify for those benefits, then you get paid.
I mean, like, in terms of just...
The invalidity, if you become invalid and you've made already 52 contribution or I don't know whatever the number is now. So if you've worked and made that number of contributions, you qualify. You could be out of a job for 10 years, but then become pensionable age. You still entitled to your NIB pension because you would have made a relevant contribution. Now the problem is there's not what could be a problem because I don't know what it is actuarially. If you don't have enough new people coming into the system and you have a good block, 65% of your people in pensionable age within a matter of 10 years, you could not have the funds you need to pay out the benefits. Because younger people are doing other stuff, they're going away, they're not coming home, some of them not even having
That's what they're talking about.
so you all of that affects
Recently they say
the compensation that's
one
coming
of
in.
you, two out of 3, they stay abroad. You know, come on.
I should have
But-
stayed for
If you make it worth the while for them to come home, then they might. I tell you, I have a daughter who's 26 with a master's degree, and everywhere she's gone in the last, she just came home in March. Everywhere she's gone in the last 2, but she take a whole month off to just get her head together. But everywhere she's gone, they tell her she overqualified. How could you be overqualified at 26?
Say it over here.
My cousin
And
told me,
master's degree.
Over here.
Yes.
What she think?
She did
You
National
have a-
Organization of
you have
Psychology,
over
which
associates?
is
I mean,
HR.
say can't pay.
That's because,
No, they even
They
were
say
hired. They don't know what they
They
can
don't
pay her
exactly.
because they even didn't ask.
right, the thing is, they rather hire people, you see like a lot of young people going to school, they rather hire them and train them and then give them
If you go
minimum
for
wage
Fidelity Bank, you see a
compared to
lot of young
someone.
people.
I also know another lady,
All they
another
understand.
girl, a lady told me her daughter, she has a master's degree, but she wasn't getting hired. They went 2 or 3 years of that. Then she changed her resume to just up to what she got from BGCSE. She was hired within a month. I don't understand that.
They're not interested in losing
Because
money
they don't
because they don't have to pay you
wanna-
a salary.
But
You're
yet,
entitled to.
they say that we don't have to people that put in these positions and they go
We do
abroad
have it.
and bring the people in. And then they pay them that big lump salary and no one hire their own people.
I can tell you the other thing, another thing happened to me that I'm aware of. I know a guy he was coming home. He sent out his resume as a Bahamian and he didn't get any hits. He put his New York address on the resume and he got hits. So, what are we really looking for?
We want foreigners.
And they were shocked when he
Who could
showed up,
behave.
And see, they expect, they think when they get the foreigners, they think that they
But them foreigners
get
will
the
be
best that they get.
But when they
Yeah,
don't
you know what
leave, they get shipped back
foreigners
to their country.
doing? All they doing is benefiting themselves in their country. And benefiting the country.
Anyhow, so you gotta have these controls in place.
What is on phone? It's on.
I don't know if it's on or off.
Yeah.
I don't see any. It should be a computer hooked up to it or somehow. I don't know.
I plug in. I guess.
Okay. So, like Clayton said, there's only so much you can get out of chapter 5. It's more interesting the case studies as opposed to anything else. $155 asks this question: can a control system be totally effective? What do you think?
Control system.
Can any control system be totally effective? There will never be a perfect system.
No, because you have things that come up every day. You know what, the buying, like, the system itself is never perfect because you know what goes down just once a week.
It cannot be done.
What organizations also have to look at is the cost of putting the controls in place worth return on the investment or worth it for them to do it. There's a way to hire honest people to begin with, but if you take
There's a way.
I was about to say, the system all depends on the people.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is your hiring process could eliminate a lot of stuff if it's done correctly.
But actually, police regularly.
I'm one who believe in personality profiling,
Really?
and it's a very simple tool that HR managers could use, and it tests a person's propensity to be dishonest. And if you do a certain, yes I do. If you score a certain percentage on the test, the chances are it will be
Is this something that can be done online? Like
Yes.
tests online?
it can be done online.
What kind of test is it?
You can Google MBTI.
What is this?
I'm not saying it's online.
What is this
But-
related to?
Some tests that you can test for persons to
MBTI.
be honest or not.
And what it is Myers-Briggs.
.com?
No. And you gotta Google it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's not the test itself, but it gives you the background on the test. Myers-Briggs type inventory. That's just one of it. This is one is the highly recognized one. MBTI. Everyone who's done any psychological assessment tools will be familiar with the MBTI. Companies can use them. A lot of Canadian companies use it, but Myers-Briggs was a lady and her daughter-in-law, I think it was, who were psychologists, and they actually invented this system of profiling. So you do a psychological profiling coming in. It has very little to do with maths, English, Spanish, or whatever, because anybody can come with the right certificates.
Fluff.
We want to get down
Boy,
to
was-
yeah. You need to get down to the person's propensity to be successful in a given environment. Or it actually could test to their propensity to be dishonest. And it actually could test also to do they have the get up and go? Are they easily motivated?
I haven't finished my HR direction.
I trust you. I don't give a thing that that's free.
I don't do that really, because you just.
But I'm sure she's familiar. If she's a Canadian bank,
No,
they.
she from Canada. She be in there.
No, but I mean, your head officers should be familiar.
I know this is what they use it.
Yeah. A lot of companies don't use it, but they're so widely known. In the United States, they use it a lot. Myers-Briggs, MBTI.
Maybe they gotta get up.
No, but they don't have to be online here. This could be to me, when was the last time someone did a paper exam qualifying for a job? They don't just do an interview. Yeah. Do a job, do a paper exam.
I think when I process it, obviously it's too much things.
Some companies
Sales
do.
are doing that soon, no?
Some people do. I know an insurance company that does. It's a paper exam.
Paper exam like asking what do I?
The thing of police force does that.
All kind of questions like it must have experienced
Police.
and sentences and like.
The police and the defense force.
If you apply to
Yeah.
Bahama, you have a maths and an English section that you can do.
Yeah, and all together, it's like absolutely so.
Yeah. True, false, multiple choice. Calculations. Especially if you're working with round numbers like PPA area.
Yeah, I think a
You gotta
test
know
to get
10% of X, Y, Z, whatever it is. Yeah. And I've seen people have a control in place where you're not hired on one interview. You're hired by your immediate supervisor. You're interviewed by the immediate and the HR and somebody else in another area.
That's what we do.
So do 360 kind of thing.
All of them are actually in the same room. Like if we
Not
have
at the same time.
That's what we do. HR director.
3 or 4 different.
Yeah. Because anybody could wake up and decide I can be on my best today. And I just can do X, Y, Z. So they want to see you in different environments at different times. And, yeah. Advantages to that.
Yeah, true.
You gotta go. But I tried two or 3 times.
After that second, I'm
But it's better to hire the right person, take longer to hire the right person, and be quick to fire the wrong person. We do it the other way around. We hire quickly, and we take long to fire. They gotta really do something drastic.
You get sued by you
No.
fired too
No. You can fire anybody during the probationary period.
fast.
You can fire anybody at any time if you get them with the fair labor with the employment access to give them. It doesn't say you can't fire somebody. It says if you fire them, you got to pay them X amount of weeks for XYZ. Sometimes it's better to just pay them the money and let them go. Because they costing you more than that. Yeah, man.
So she what? She what?
Yeah, somebody, but they hired her to begin with.
I was saying on, but no, I
Put
was.
on the plug in your shirt anyway.
Because I don't need nobody recording my little words. Stop calling.
I don't know.
I remember to make RC on it. Anyway, talk about
But
the other day.
personality testing is readily available and it's out there to be done. So it happens. And that if people try to bring in garbage and then put some controls in place, it's better to hire appropriately first. You're not going to be 100% any which way you got it, but at least it cut it back to X, Y, or Z. And I remember the day back in the 70s or so when I remember it was CIBC. Everybody, all the persons on the front line, the CIB tellers was a certain height, a certain weight, and a certain color.
Why it sound like Scotia? We had certain branches, like you, to get
Yeah.
that branch to be fair skin. And Like seriously, fair skin, and you're a female, actually one branch is all males.
And pleasant to the eye. Now, I don't know why you need that for banking, but I can see why you need it for stewardess. I might be able to see why you need it for waitresses. People spend more money. I mean, if I can get drunk and drink, I gotta find somebody to do it. You know what I mean? Otherwise, something's gonna happen. I don't know. So certain occupation, I can understand that. You know, but there should be a criteria coming into the organization. You know, and
You don't hire them and then have them.
you don't have to have the look because you didn't have a look when you came into the first interview.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that's why something else was afoot. I'll leave that on that one.
Thank you so much for recording.
Yeah. So in terms of totally effective, we got the reasons why it cannot be. I'm on 55. Poor decision making due to failures of judgment, human error, deliberate circumvention of controls, and some people do that. Management overriding whatever the system is, and it's amazing how any computerized system you have, there is a toggle for you to override what is supposed to be happening actually.
Exactly.
They create them with that in there.
They want to override that, but you can't touch it. Like, why there? You don't touch it. Seriously?
No, you're not the one that's going to touch it, but I can go and touch it.
Well, hey there.
I also saw recently in a bank, another bank, somebody said something like they sent a letter with their friend. They sent a letter for somebody to withdraw from this money, but they actually sent it to the bank supervisor because the bank supervisor know them.
No.
And I'm like, okay, chill work. I can leave that. But when we get familiar, we start to do things a little different. I had also today somebody asked me, should we insure people who smoke marijuana?
Why not?
When I last checked it, marijuana was illegal in the Bahamas. So the question really is, are you insuring a criminal?
I mean, personally,
But I don't know. You might,
Some jobs, they
you
don't
got-
do testing, and a lot of people just
Look here, to me, depending on the frequency and the severity, you could be caught up through one corner buying something, and then something else coming out of whatever in your boot.
marijuana doesn't kill.
No, the tree itself doesn't. The trade does. So, you know, it all depends. And then you also got to look at the degree of independence of controls from the data processing unit. And it's amazing how, too, a lot of companies have a system that does a lot of things. But there are still manual operations going on almost simultaneously.
So I put it in the system.
So they put in the system. So why go through all this paperwork when you could put in the system one time? I don't know. And maybe it's to them, that's their backup plan. Somebody could see this physical XYZ.
They're going to hard copy.
Hard copy somewhere, whatever have you. But the IRS, United States IRS, they are looking at electronically canceled check as satisfactory in terms of if you have to go to court and you have to make some presentation. So why spend X amount of money with scanning operations and DocuWare stuff and whatever else? And then you still go to the copy machine and copy this and copy that and copy that. You know, when I see banks still copying checks, you know, putting them on a copy machine and clicking,
You know
whereas
what I'm saying? That's just for second.
Well, you know, when we copy at Scotiabank, we're doing it, it was deposited over 10,000 in checks. We have to deposit it. We have to copy it just for it.
That's just to be safe, man. It's just a second backup.
Because when it's scanned, it's not going to scan altogether.
That's why you have cabinet file too.
No, we can copy it and put it in file and like,
how much I was copied for?
It's copy and scan it to the thing, to the, what you call it, software.
The software, the copy software.
You can
And then
scan it off.
the physical paper, what y'all do with it?
It goes in the package and then that goes to general filing or.
So that's a general filing.
Yeah.
But not in the branch. That goes
Not in the branch,
General filing, safekeeping, type in file.
Oh, okay, alright. So if I brought in $10,000 and I could verify the source of the funds.
Cash?
Cash or whatever. Cash or whatever. Because if I
Well,
because
checks in anyway.
a lot of construction people use cash. They
Wait,
do look for cash.
Cash is more risky. So if you're a check, they ain't really charge you for $10,000 worth of checks. Like cash.
I had to fill out a source of funds form
We just continue to do
for
it.
$1,050 at back at the bottom.
That's right. Excellent. That's good. Stonehenge States.
$1,050. The check, she was like, you $50 over the limit. I said, what you talking about? What the limit?
They said that Stonehenge days, you gotta excuse them.
So, I said, yeah, leave it at that. So I know I won't go back in there too often, right?
They should ask for $50 back.
But it was a check.
I'll give you $50 back. Yeah.
And
I
they
got-
say, I'm like, $50.
You understand?
No, but it had to go in to come back out. So when I thought it was going in, I had to put in a source of funds.
Take off $50 off your account, please. Give me a check.
She wasn't hearing me. I tried all of that. She said, but I gotta put in the whole
Yes. I ain't bouncing yet.
$1,050.
They spend the money
And
on
I'm like,
business.
how many individuals coming here with 5,000 or more? Or 10,000? We're talking 50,000.
investing in
Less than
the wrong
1,500. Yeah, they invest in the wrong areas.
You draw a machine when we come with it. Yeah. To make him sexy.
Okay, 158.
Yes.
The control frameworks. We need to look at that. What do we mean by control framework?
Models and
Basically, that's it. There are two components: control environment, control procedure. What does that mean? The actual environment is what is the culture, the infrastructure, what we have in place, which folder this goes in, and which file that goes in, and which system we key it into, the attitudes and the direction of the control that is in place. And then the procedure is the detailed controls that are in place. In terms of, the first one is culturally, what do we do? And I can tell you, if there's somebody who's bent on circumventing the system, they will find a way. And you look for one organization that I'm aware of, they would take their people on a rotation basis. So you're not in the same area for 2 or 3, 4 years. So, and they call it cross training, where they put you in different areas. But the whole idea behind it is not that you be cross trained, so that they catch anything that, because people normally, the system works only when you're in place to work it. So we move them around or move individuals around. Right. I also know some companies, you have to take vacation. You couldn't let it, and it's not just that they
it's forced to take vacation like that.
they force you, you can't work for 3 months without taking vacation. So you can't say, I want to take it all in December.
Central
You gotta
Bank.
bring that up.
Central Bank. They're making us take vacation.
Central Bank.
And your bank is making you take vacation.
That's something like I do that. We were.
You don't work for Central Bank.
No, but
That's the controls and
yeah,
they put in place.
control all offshores.
Yeah,
Oh, it's all Shaw Bank.
yeah. But
Sugar's my cousin
So
worked
what,
for
yours
Shaw.
just get those cash flow vacationing?
That is let it go up. And that's what my cousin
a lot of companies are a lot of the international best practices companies are recommending that you force an individual to
Yeah.
take vacation at least once a quarter. And that's really a control
No,
mechanism.
They want it all at one time.
Or they want to order one time.
Central Bank.
So you piece it up through the air, like say,
Well, that's what we was doing.
Oh, no.
Like going anytime you want.
Oh, no.
You mean like a day here and a day there, and
Yeah, they wouldn't mind a day, but I mean like a couple of days.
I didn't realize they had that much kind of control on these companies. I'm surprised.
I know Scotia requires you to take at least one consecutive week. And you can That's
Like
how you
anything
operate.
dealing with the bank licenses.
Yeah.
Central bank have to approve that.
Yeah.
So you-
Yeah. But vacation is one of them areas.
I know vacation. I mean, vacation is a personal time. It doesn't know like central bank having that. Strange.
I didn't realize they got they got down to that operational level. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just surprised. I wasn't familiar.
See, they're more strict on offshore banks.
Yeah, but vacation.
I think that's crazy.
Yeah, vacation. That kind of weird.
Use their vacation.
They're
like,
for,
say
I
they have
mean,
a small
well,
child and
they're
use
trying to
it.
say within that year, you have to. You know, they're not saying.
But in that year, you have to. But I
some
mean,
people,
I
they
don't
don't
know
some,
if all
some
central bank
employees,
I can
they had a year or
understand.
two going.
I can understand. You have to take your vacation within this year.
But central
Yeah,
bank.
that's what they mean.
Yeah,
All at one
definitely.
time.
But if I had 4 weeks vacation, I would hate for them to say you have to take the 4 one time.
I wouldn't come out to work. I wouldn't remember nothing. I just spending on things. I come out for 2 weeks.
That's a good feeling that you off.
Listen, I mean that's just make it beautiful longer.
Government employees used to be off. I know what government
Vacation
employees
leisure,
are for 36
it's
months.
real.
36 weeks, sorry.
How much?
Because he accumulated so much.
That's almost a year.
He was
That's
off.
why my
He
aunt,
had
she's
vacation
off
for
almost a
36
year.
weeks, almost
That's
a year.
good money, man.
Yeah. For real. She's off like on 7 months.
You know, but
But she's working in the hospital. She was off for 7 months straight.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, like I couldn't do it.
Accumulated
I took
vacation.
retirement right in one shot. I could not do it. To go back to the doctor 7 months to get home. I'm going,
But if an organization could do without you, no. But if an
Getting paid, yeah.
organization could do without you for 7 months, they could do without you. They don't really need you. I had a boss tell me that if I could do it
But
for
see that
1 month.
vacation, some companies they have to pay. They have to pay for that.
They pay,
So if
yeah,
that
but don't take it.
accumulates so high, they
And the government came with this thing. I'm not sure what the period is now, but they have where if you don't take it, I mean, if you don't take it in a given period, you
You
only could
forfeit
save,
something,
you
right.
forfeit it, and you only could save up to 13 weeks, for example. So I think they say to me, oh yeah, this one, I forget you in the labor law.
yes,
This one,
yes, yes.
I need to hire you. I need to
HR
go in there.
director.
How much I get so involved with how much time can I get swing?
Okay.
So it makes you more aware.
No, for real, you're lying.
Control.
She ain't lying.
As long as they can put wool over your eye, trust me,
Trust
they
me.
can do it.
You
Yes.
swing me once,
Really
never
don't.
again. What?
And yeah, getting back to organizational structure. Well, yeah, I tell you all the good foolishness at these banks and these companies.
There's nothing there.
Who is in control? Who is it that sets for the banks? I know central bank is involved, and but generally speaking, in companies, who is it that sets the tone for what should be the controls for the organization? Definitely the leaders.
This
The owners,
directors.
the directors, the board of directors. And then from an operational point of view, it's left to the managers to make sure that they comply with what the direction and the system is supposed to be set up and put in place. So that's the organizational structure coming from, and that's why the CEO and the board of directors have to be on board with what they want to put in place, because they're the one who's setting the tone. And personally, if when you decide who will be the watchdog of the system, it got to be somebody who is detail oriented. But because if I party and you party and I supposed to be in control of what is happening, files don't get updated. Okay, and because Melissa ain't on our run, then you can get right up 3 times, whereas Clayton been carrying on all the year and hasn't gotten one thing on his file. So what are the controls in place? What are the controls in place? You know, and we don't need nobody getting to the place where they close the door, you know. So basically, always, I'm on page 160, the issues are ethics, integrity, and maintaining this good corporate governance. The people got to be competent enough to be able to do that, because that's what we all trying to work at. if you have a situation where the salaries are, and organizations don't like employees to discuss salary unless everybody getting the same thing. And they frown on it, but they can't stop someone from discussing it. But the salary level is usually commensurate with the level of control that they're expecting you to have over everybody else. The worst thing you want to have in a situation is where the staff, I know of a situation where the assistant manager is making X, and one of the individuals he supervises is making more than him. Now, that's a challenge. Because right off the bat, you got a challenge.
So that means something going on.
No, it don't have to be something going on, but it's hard to control an individual making more money than you.
I mean, how would you know that?
How I know, how they know.
Oh, it is.
Sometimes they sit down and add up or something they peek you. I don't know. Because, I mean, if all of us are waiters together and you happen to live in Laikiki, driving a Mercedes, and you walking around with all the usual bling, somebody can start asking some questions. And even if they don't ask it, they as employees will kind of say, well, we always struggling and this dude always seem to be happy-go-lucky and you know what I mean?
God is good.
Seriously?
But God don't only shine on one individual, you know.
He is my best friend. Oh, mommy looking like this.
Yeah. So I don't know how that came out, but I think in that particular case that I'm aware of, the one who's higher paid, he peeped the other guy, like they did a financials for the organization, and it was broken down levels. And they have them level 2. One income. So he said, man, it's doing stressing me out every day. He don't even make as much money. He said, no, I check them no more. And it's difficult then for that.
Can he get fired?
Who?
They found it, yeah, that's
Then he found that he know the other person.
No, but if the other
most people like here, most people don't be outwardly disrespectful, you know.
I drop hints, subtle hints, I'm very
Yeah.
subtle.
Some people defy you by their behavior. And it's difficult to fire an individual who walk in the line.
Special evidence.
Okay? So you say I can show up 8 o'clock, I show up 8 o'clock.
On the dot.
What I
Stand by the door,
You're
7:59.
saying you can't stand them, but they doing everything.
You stand by the door at 7:50.
You talking low tone.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah, I lost my time to get to work. I stand by the door until I see 8 o'clock. I keep walking down. You can't find me. You
They
cannot
got an
find me.
agenda.
I
They
did
got an
before,
agenda.
actually.
Yeah, I call them in and have a conversation. So it's difficult, we're talking about internal controls, and it's difficult to have control when there's so many other things happening to affect the perceived control. You can't put somebody who is supposed to be controlling this unit in the cubicle, but along with everybody else, somebody else got an office. The person usually in the office got the control. Usually. So, organization have to be careful what messages it send to the wider body. So control is not only systems control, it has to be cultural control as well. And so it's two sides of a situation. And that's why they bring up things like ethics and integrity and competence and organizational structure, because those things impact how effective is your control mechanism. Okay. And then let's look at the attributes of a strong control environment based on the Turnbull report. There must be clear strategies implemented from top down. The extent to which the objectives are supported by organizational culture. That's we're talking about the culture is the behavior and the values, the codes of conduct, human resource management policies, and performance renewal of the performance reward system. Performance evaluations is a big challenge as well, because the person who is evaluating you should be aware of what you do on a day-to-day basis. You can't have Sue over there evaluating you and all she gets is a paper documentation coming through.
You don't know about this. They tell them the new person evaluating you want to write on the paper.
Oh.
Boy. And you leave that one too.
Personally, while you can get the paper back, change it. Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Ready conditions.
But I've seen organizations where they say your evaluation, you're not waiting for an annual review. They do it on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis.
Stop.
And
I see it now.
okay, and you have, as the employee being evaluated, the opportunity to write. They can't just, before they used to evaluate you and send a documentation in. Now most companies are looking at whatever they write in, they gotta let you see. And you gotta sign whether or not you agree or disagree.
Could you get a copy of the evaluation?
You can. You're
Yeah,
supposed to.
you should be able to. Because it's on you.
I'll copy it myself.
It's your information.
Let me sign this. Okay.
And I've had a situation also too where the person was being evaluated and reprimanded and whatever else. And the person, so they said, you have to sign this. So they said, but I can't sign this because I don't agree with this. So he said, but we need your signature on the form. So he said, okay, I'll sign it. But he wrote, I so and so do not agree with the assessment of the. So of course the person's pissed off, right?
Of course. But I mean, see, the good thing I got this question. We have a section that says,
Boy, use up fielding.
you agree or disagree. If
Yeah.
I ain't agree, but I think you go and click disagree and I ain't signing it. I'm not obligated to sign it. I do not agree.
You don't agree. And I think in terms of fairness, that's what you want to have happen
Exactly.
with the individual. And they have the opportunity to say, okay, based on what you said, tell me why you feel that. So you say, okay, well, you was late. You have this discussion before that final documentation goes into HR or wherever else the next level up. Okay. Now the COSO, I would read it, but I won't take. It'd probably be better to, because I don't want to give you too much clues, It'd probably be better to look at the framework, which involves several key concepts. Internal control is a process. Internal control is reliant on people. Internal control can only provide reasonable assurance and not absolute assurance, which you said already. Internal control is concerned with the achievement of objectives. That's primarily what it is. I'm not going to go into the risk assessment because we're going to do everything about risk management and assessment in 7 and 8, which you're going to cover a lot of stuff there. But I will want you to look at monitoring on page 163. The monitoring process assesses the quality of the control system performance over time. And monitoring should be ongoing through routine processes supported by ad hoc evaluation as required. Now, when they talk about ad hoc evaluation, they're talking about evaluating the monitoring systems to make sure that it is still appropriate and is still in place, not ad hoc evaluation of employees.
What ad hoc means?
At random. 163. At random. Yeah, no, ad hoc. Ad hoc is like at random. So surprise checks and balances, because if everybody know, we normally get the system normally is monitored. It's normally monitored June and December. You could misbehave up until about last week of April. They put a lot of things in place in May, and then you pass in June, and you go back to square one in July, August, September. So it should be surprise inspections, at different levels. And the inspections is just to make sure that the systems is still in place and it's working. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. I think we have it wasn't this class, it was another class. There was last year, early last year, there was bank robbery, I think it was, and I can't remember. I really can't remember, honestly. But it was, the teller said this person held her up and took some money. But the amount of money he wasn't supposed to ever have.
$30,000.
You forbid me the case.
How much it is?
$30,000.
That's why I know everything.
He gonna be working, you know, he be checking. I'm not familiar which bank it is, but if you said, if the, let's create a scenario. If
I would
they-
turn this on, don't I?
if you, if you have a situation where, if you, that is Skype, it's another company, but anyway,
That's-
if you have a situation where, create a scenario that you should only have in your till $1,000, I create a scenario. And when you get up to your,
Coincidence?
Yeah, no coincidence.
when you get up to your 1,000, you're supposed to turn it over to.
The last couple of months, our brother had a big restaurant.
And then you have a situation where you not only go over the 1,000, your argument is you forgot to make your regular drop. At the same, now, the person who robbed the bank, past security,
Past security. Calm down, okay?
come to you,
Conspiracy?
rob you,
And you don't make
walk
no
out,
noise.
and every bank got panic.
10 minutes after you
Ow.
go leave is when she gone to supervise and say she get robbed.
I can see if you get shot in
Thanks.
your arm or something.
She
No.
gone minutes after
Gonna
you
walk
leave.
out quite casually.
But I know
And you even say the back and not see him there.
Oh,
You wait till.
you.
all
you
them
never
girls got him.
You ever the one where the man dressed up like
I
a
would
woman?
see
Yeah.
That was my ex-girlfriend. He came in the bank dressed up like a woman. And I think it was around Christmas time. He had this big present. So, he said he'd come to, so and so. We went to our office. And she liked gifts and stuff. So when he got in office, he had the gun. I think he had the gun inside the
Packet.
box, and he put it to her and said, go to the vault. Start putting it in, and she put in 200,000. And then he told her, say, walk out with me, with hole in the gate.
Wow.
And they walked out, and I was like, where are you going?
Anyway,
And
back to the-
apparently he didn't know. He said something, said, if you don't work with me, I'll shoot you, and then I know where your little boy is. And something.
Oh,
But back to the other scenario.
And then after that, she fired two of her Jamaican maids.
oh,
Is the fella, he was Jamaican?
sounds Jamaican. Did they ever catch him on that one?
No, they never caught him.
Oh.
She left
Two hundred
That's sorry.
thousand.
No, I'm just creating a
You know
scenario.
what I mean? The scenario that started, that branch, that scenario.
You come on, she ain't got let go.
A few months later, they were said that our brother opened a restaurant with the same money that was stolen.
Oh, brother.
She
They never
So
catch
she
the
think of-
fella.
she was still working at the bank.
She's still in the actually.
Well, anyhow. So, we gotta make sure I do these surprise stuff. Monitoring.
That's
should
thinking of the
do-
box, eh?
That's thinking of the box. They have something called white boy financing, so you got no money financing. I don't know. But that's a scenario right there. I couldn't remember
Oh,
which
it's
one was
exciting.
involved.
So they
But
thought it was an inside job until they, did an
homegirls?
evaluation.
I mean, no, I'm
Sorry.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, to me, systems are in place to monitor, and any system that I have in place to monitor anything, once you breach that, that's officially defied.
Exactly.
That's officially
Because you
defied.
signed for those things agreeing that you understand
Yeah.
whatever.
So even if it was legitimate, the fact that you had more than your till was supposed to have had,
And that's what's so interesting because
That's
So
it.
they had one with a truck too.
yeah,
One of
ICS.
truck, they
Tried it, so I Central Bank.
They did.
Central Bank. They haven't tried, they did actually, yeah.
They did. There's three.
Central Bank.
So what happened?
They were
did.
like every
There was an inside job they're saying one of the drivers.
every armored truck has a sign for a particular amount of bags. And this particular driver or whoever it was decided that he would want he opened the bag and took some of the money out. But the thing is, when you open the door, everybody can see it. Once that seal is broken, you're not supposed to accept it.
Yeah.
So he broke the seal and tried, he sealed it back with a signature on it. They were like, can't put no bank or whatever. But that ain't gonna talk about a different story. But anyway, the bag ended up going to whatever bank it went to. And I guess the person who collected the bags noticed that the seal was broken.
Yeah, this is the
And the signatures were on it. So
This is
that's what.
the one they talk about is the inside job.
But I heard about that
One
one
of the
too.
drivers, they planned a robbery, and then they got shot, and they could look convincing. But they caught two of the suspects. They didn't catch the third.
Okay.
They got a lot of money.
A lot.
They stole a
But
lot.
some people also have in their mindset that I don't mind going to jail for 3 or 5 years. By the time I come out,
Yeah,
I got
I mean, you don't show
shit.
money there because you don't show your boy is. Your boy would be living in Peru all day. What?
so all that is a part of it. But as far as monitoring is concerned, you need to have the internal environment. You need to be setting your objectives. You need to identify event identification, risk assessment, risk response. How would we control the activities, information and communication, and the actual physical monitoring of itself? We need to have a system in place that does that. So that's basically what I would say in terms of key controls, internal controls, any feedback, the control framework, control environment, control procedures. I'm on page 174.
No words.
The internal control, the Turnbull report, because it mentioned the control systems coming out of that. The control framework, control environment, control procedures, and I leave the risk to our risk management chapter for 7 and 8. Because more will be in that. This chapter was not much stuff except that, oh, there's one. Yeah.
For pictures suffice.
Okay. And there's, I don't know if you read it yet, but there's very little in audit as well. I just said very little. There's a little fluff in audit. That's a fairly small chapter. Say fluff. Time flying when you're having fun. You can stop it off, cut it off. But if I went through, because I do have a couple more minutes, the audit, what is internal audit? You need to know that. That's page 176. What is an internal audit?
Social audit.
It says social audit. This is internal audit. Slightly simple, slightly different. And why audits should be independent. The auditor should be independent from the person managing. If the day-to-day management of the accounts department is X, then you should have somebody else auditing. Or if the preference of financial services is to have an external auditor. And that's where people like PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Ernst & Young and Deloitte make plenty money. and what's the other
Special
one?
KPMG.
KPMG. I forgot that one, KPMG. But independence implies a number of factors. There should exercise objectivity. There should be respect for valid opinions. There should be regarded as providing support to management. They should be free to request information and seek explanation. I'm on page 177, independent. So when I go over your books, I supposed to be able to see whatever files I need to see. I need to ask any question I need to ask. You need to be able to supply me with information for whatever reason. Because at the end of the day, I would need to review your work to make sure you're keeping on track with the monitoring system. And not only are the numbers correct, but how it should be filed is also correct. Financial services have a lot of compliance. As a matter of fact, most companies now have a compliance officer who has either a legal background or an accounting background, or both. Because there's so many things that must happen from a control perspective and audit perspective that the person needs to have the expertise to do it. On page 178, when it talks about threats to independence, this is really a section about what are those things that create conflict of interest or lack of objectivity. You can't say I am completely independent if you're using a system that was designed by me, because it's not independent. I was involved with it. So these threats to independence is things like involvement in system design and management. If there's a relationship between the person who was doing X and Y, husband and wife, children, whatever, where there's information that can go out outside of the organization or in another environment. And if Sue is reporting to me, then for me to audit her work on a daily basis, I'm signing off stuff what she do, and then I'm the one who's doing the audit too. That should not be happening. The control would be kind of diluted. So the person who's signing off should be audited by somebody else, because me and Melissa might be working together. So, and usually that's how things that do happen. The person who is the supervisor in place, then you get the $1,000 now, we share that, and I can sign off on XYZ, or I could destroy the paper, I could make sure I don't go through the system, because you get 40 and I get 60. So you done my direct report, so I want to evaluate you anyhow. You're not going to go against me unless you have a serious ethical dilemma going on, or you say, well, at the risk of losing my job, I can make sure I sound the alarm. And so they don't want the reporting to be connected, because then that gets away from objectivity or independence. The objectives of the internal audit on page 181. Why do we do it? You need to know. Review of accounting and internal control system. And so it's not only the accounts and financials, it's actually control systems as well. Examination of financial and operating information. Review of economy, efficiency, and effectiveness of the operation. Review of compliance with laws, regulation, and codes of practices. Review of measures that are in place to safeguard assets. Review of the effectiveness of actions taken in pursuing corporate goals and objectives. And then identification of significant risk to the organization. Special one-off investigations if necessary. I find that once you do the surprise audits, you find more stuff. And, they're not prepared to it. And if you shouldn't make it a pattern that can be kind of guessed. But I know every quarter it comes. So I haven't seen it for the first month. I can behave the last month of this quarter, because whatever. there's no reason why you can go twice in one quarter. Or sometimes go no time in a quarter, but 3 times in the following quarter. You should really be mixing it up. It's almost like when people say, don't drive home the same way every night. You see? Because there's somebody taking you out. They know your pattern of behavior.
You know, you gotta just go on Facebook.
Go on Facebook, eh?
Yeah. You just put all the information.
All the information on Facebook, man. It's
They
amazing.
put their
So
cell
and
phone
so.
number.
I plan on going away for 2 months or 2
Area.
weeks. Yeah,
where they
right.
live.
The robbers know where Facebook is. They on Facebook too. Or she'll wait for a certain time. Okay.
She got twisted line now.
Yeah, I got involved with somebody who was involved. I heard of,
Stalker.
no, I don't want to be stalkers. They ain't gonna stalk me, they might stalk somebody else. But I have a young man who, he had a stalker, which is this young lady. And he had gotten in the habit of posting his pictures 6 months after he actually went on the situations. So there was this constant battle as to, but I thought you was in Hawaii. No. Because he went to Hawaii 6 months earlier with all the pictures and everything and so forth.
Yeah,
But you have to be a very serious person to go through the hassle of doing that.
I have a friend like that. Every time he goes out, goes away, he'll post one picture and a couple months later, he'll come back and then start posting more pictures pretending like he's away.
Yeah.
Of people,
Yeah.
thinking, oh, he's away.
Yeah.
But one of the directors to my company, does that. I don't know. I think she does it where people.
That's a safety mechanism.
She does that too. I notice it. Like she'll go away, and then after she comes back, then she'll start posting pictures and put a caption or well, look where I went today.
Yeah.
So they give them the idea. And
She's
then,
still putting herself at risk to get things she home and
no,
her house. So
that's like people who trying to get to know where she is.
Yeah.
Like she'll throw them off.
But not only that, I always wondered. I would never sign on the
say
location.
don't post nothing.
Yeah,
That's
people
what I
send
do.
their location.
I don't post nothing.
But I mean, your phone, when you have your location turned on.
That's
Oh,
true too.
I didn't even know so much things about
My
this.
GPS thing,
I
I didn't know. I know about the people.
I
But
Turn that off.
I never turn mine on.
How you do that?
GPS.
Or GPS therapy.
No, it's something in the phone.
But I mean, I know for sure the GPS location is beyond my phone.
Yeah,
Yes. I would only use my phone lost someone tries to steal it.
yeah. But it knows where you are too.
You have to do it on Snapchat.
No.
No.
What's that?
Snapchat.
Camera.
What's that?
It's like when there's an app people on now, you get they add to it from your contact. You imagine. You take a picture or a video, it's like a 15-second video, and you send it to whoever you want it.
Yeah,
And it doesn't last, it erases
yeah.
itself.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Because
they only
I
watch it
wonder
15
sometimes when you look on Facebook, it'll say you were these places.
Mm-hmm.
You
Oh,
know?
I used to have a lot of college until I started getting stalkers. So I was like, it's gonna work.
You got to be very, very careful in terms of surveillance and all the rest of it. But so is the internal audit and risk, and organizations like KPMG and PwC and those who like, they make a killing of just being audit companies. Because there's so much stuff that could be lost, so much stuff, money could be taken, so much issues. Even in the best of times, if you don't follow the right procedure, your company could be sued. And so, because they know the value of the proper auditing and so on, they actually jump right into it. So, that's basically for that section. The next thing would be about the audit committee, because organizations should have an audit committee. Even someone whose job function is on 185. It says, and the second paragraph, in most organizations, the audit committee is made up of independent, non-executive directors whose role it is to liaise with and supervise internal audit and review both the annual accounts and the internal controls of the organization. So if you had to answer that question or describe, you have to put in the fact that it's on the annual accounts and the internal controls. So it's not only on the finances, it's whatever control mechanisms are in place inside the organization as well. You will get full marks if you say both. 185. And then it breaks it down on page 186, the role of the audit committee. Review of financial statements and systems. The audit committee should review published financial statements, including any quarterly, interim, and annual accounts. Go on to 187. They should actually do the accounting policy that is adopted by the organization and the transparency of information provided, and in particular, any areas in which judgment is expressed. They should also review financial statement to consider the systems through which such statements are produced. I remember, I think it was N1. Was it N1? Yeah. Where Anderson, where everybody, oh, it doesn't matter. Might have been N1. Where everybody who had the job in the first instance was accountants. When they was going to get into preparing their own books. So the first 7 employees are all accountants. That could tell you something. Yeah, okay, that could tell you something is amiss. Okay, because the performance indicators used by the organization should be reviewed as well. Quite honestly, we did that quite kind of quick.
What were the 2 things that would get full marks for?
Oh, that the auditors are involved with not only the accounts, but also the internal controls of the organization.
And that was on page 185.
Let's see, for 186. Yeah, that's the first few sentences under the review of financial statements and system. The financial statements of a company are the information through which potential and existing investors will judge it. Therefore, it is essential that these statements provide a true picture. But that isn't where it is. Okay, sorry. The audit committee on page 185. Sorry. I got on my glasses and I left it at the office. Couldn't go back for it.
So just those last 2 paragraphs.
Yes. 185, the one in the middle.
Oh, the one in the middle.
The one in the middle there. Audit committee is made up of independent non-executive directors whose role is to liaise with and supervise internal audit and review both the annual accounts and the internal controls. So some people might think once I look over the financial figures, it's okay, I can go over my business. They should also test the internal controls that are in place to make sure that there are proper procedures in place. Okay? And that should take us straight on through. As a matter of fact, if we finish this, we are ahead. Because the next thing will be risk and risk management. 6 and 7 and 8, sorry.
I feel like if you're missing something, people say,
Yeah, you won't be as lost if you read your book.
I mean reading the book.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, like who was saying, my explanation too has to break down, carry to the fluff. Because if you read a lot of the fluff, you could get kind of confusing and lost. Yeah. And we just want to make sure you have if you get lost, you can get wrong. If you get frustrated, overwhelmed, you don't go on. But the whole idea is that you take the objectives of the chapter and you get from that chapter those basic objectives, you can move on. Because the whole audit situation is that somebody is reviewing the accounts and internal controls. If you said that, however else fluff you put around that, you got it. And then you want to say why it's important that it be independent. You can even walk for that, why you think is necessary. Because you can't have the same person who is supposed to be managing the controls also doing the auditing. Because you would create the paper trail to say what you wanted to say when you want to do something misguided or dishonest. So usually the person who is doing the audit is independent from the people who are involved.
Is this a conflict of interest in managing financial funds?
If the management of the funds is all driven online by the computer, because you could key in something, because computers are a flow of information, and that
someone does those jobs.
in an organization I would consider that as a conflict of interest.
But they're not the IT manager. They deal with all the computer software
No.
and the system setup.
Nah, yeah, system setup. Because every system of this workflow that should happen.
Deals with the financial.
And then there is a toggle that you could override the system. So if you are managing funds over here,
That's why we like to keep things
if you're managing this fund over here and I'm supposed to have X dollars and it's supposed to be inputted in here, and the same person who has the key to override the system, I could say X 100,000 came in, and I could override something in here, but that 100,000 ended up being 90,000. And especially if the valuation of the fund is being generated
This
in that same.
one Philippine guy. Over here, he nice and quiet. When he go home, they treat him like Jesus. When they go back to the Philippines.
Yeah, because he's going back with all that money.
It's over there. It's like
Like $1
over there. They
That's like some Haitians going back home
and when he
with.
go over there,
Back to the US dollars.
all like 30 people. He's carrying 30 people up.
And you all still got him to be the one who toggling across
Well,
here.
but they looking for another IT
They didn't
manager.
have
But they open an accent.
This is
Someone
this is
specifically who does that.
This the same person who has a wife involved as well.
Yeah, his wife works there too.
All kind of
He
conflicts
brought,
of
he
interest.
brought his wife and he brought 3 other Filipinos.
All kind of conflict of interest. Because not only that, if without getting into too many specifics, if I'm okay, let's take it over there. I'm now at a company in the Bahamas like Sandals, and I'm in charge of hiring. And I go to Jamaica, and I tell people who could not have gotten out of Jamaica, I make a way for them to come out of Jamaica and come to work with me. You know they can do whatever I tell them to do.
It is worshiping.
You have to, because you're free. You just like get me out of Egypt.
Deliverance.
Okay? And so when I tell you stamp here, leg there, and cross,
You can do it.
you can do it because you don't want to go back.
It's
See,
serious.
Jim?
It's very
So
serious.
there's definitely conflict of interest. Definitely
But
conflict.
even the Haitian is now catching on that Canada looking people, so.
Can't they ain't looking for people as much as they say looking for
They
people?
I know. Because the guy,
Would you say Canada looking for people?
yeah, for the economy, because they got taxes to pay, man. And young people ain't
Yeah,
there.
Canada
Looking for like
residential
almost 200,000 people to come fill the economy.
residential.
Residents, they're looking for them. But this guy, come on, this guy, come on, his own family to get money. I said, where you
You
going?
know how much welders is make
He's
about?
like, oh, yo,
Welders is make about 200,000 a year. Welders.
And they make
Yeah,
the
but that's
process
coming on
easier now
taxes
to get
too.
a green card too.
Okay?
They make
But I
process
think
very easy.
what I've heard so far about Canada, I think they're a really good
They
system.
do, it's awesome.
Because even though you're paying a high tax, a lot of
Their
stuff
salary
is
is like the double
Yeah,
time.
healthcare.
free. You get healthcare stuff that will take money from your salary. You don't even have to worry about that. It's free.
To the hospital when I went to Canada in March was empty. When I say empty, the parking lot had one car. Without security.
Everybody has it.
Everyone had a D. Everyone, like, no one goes across, there's practically no, there is no crime
But
in
yeah,
Canada.
everyone's sitting up.
The only crimes and infractions is when you cross the road on a red light, that's it. I'm serious, like, I cross the right, like, no cars coming, I cross the road. Alright, boop, boop. Like, sir, I was like, hi. Crossed out a red light, I was like, Like, you know, God, I'm like, no, sir, here you go. I'm like, okay. You have until next week to pay it. I'm like, I'm leaving tomorrow. What?
Wow.
They give you tickets, like, you get ticket faster. Like, you
Wow,
actually
wow.
get
So
anything else.
did they take the ticket back?
Hmm?
Did they take the ticket back?
No. I had to pay that. That was $80. I had to pay 80 Canadian dollars.
We're walking across the street.
For walking across the red light. No gas, nothing.
Leave this now, so.
Them niggas down there, trust me. Them niggas down there.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
when
yeah,
you say you
yeah.
pay it, when you say you put them in, they should be.
They ain't hearing that.
What's the tourist?
They ain't hearing it. only the Bahamas there are no laws. Everywhere else you got laws. Son.
I mean, in some cases you use a discretion. If it's a tourist,
I had to pay that.
The road
$8.
there.
Tourist is
the
That's a
road
good
there.
thing.
That's just like when tourists are driving on Bay Street and turning on Parliament Street to go down.
Oh, that's a very good thing I had that $100 view, and I was like, I can get this and cash this back in the US because I should keep it for something like that. I'm paying you, I'll take it the same thing. I said,
Um,
they strict over that. Son.
Chapter 7, they have a lot of fluff as well. But we are ahead, so we could take it easily. But it's all about risk, management of risk.
What keywords would you for? That's page 193.
Internal audit committee, independence, external audit.
I was going to say, hey.
I don't have to go all tell you, y'all know what the stuff is. So, yeah, that's
Word of the year.
word of the year. Okay, so if you clear that, we could finish 7 and 8 on Saturday. Sorry, and then we'd have more time to do review.
I don't think there's something. Oh my God.
Which means you'd have more time to review.
Would you say for Sunday?
Our 7 and 8. I will finish this book until we just review until our exam.
That sound like good.
Oh my
Sound
God.
like we get me.
I would like for you to get it.
Certificates look good.
As much as you want to get it, I would like for you to get it. But I have to ethically mark the paper as it comes.
There's no word again.
Just ethically, that word again. With integrity. Let's call it a wrap and we can catch up on some reading. Like getting in earlier than we would have normally. Boy, that was
Reading? I don't know.
Are you gonna see?
I love this class.
I didn't
now.
catch once this week.
This the easy ones that you gotta go make one of the hard ones.
I got 3 hours on
What?
I go for work.
You should take one this term, but this one then
It's
switch.
strange you're trying to get me. Wrong books.
Or she's trying to get you to finish.
Yeah, I guess. Let's use that word.
Stand this emotions.
You got the picture.
We need to talk.
David,
Yeah.
you got the picture.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, hey, but I don't want to distract you from your reading. I've been after Saturday. I said I'm going to come down and sit down with you and talk about it.
You guys is doing great night.
And oh, let me tell you, yeah.
Whatever you want to say, Sunday.
You can miss us when this is over, right? You can miss us when this is over, right?
Yeah, man, it's different network. You know.
You don't have to stop here, you know. You can always show us the body. I got this week.